Hello, I'm Dr. Dale Caldwell, host of Family Business World. We have a wonderful guest, the president of the Villani Bus Company, Courtney Villani. Courtney, thank you so much for taking time to join us today. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Grateful for our help.
Good. I'm really excited about talking to you today because, as we said, the family business is over 100 years old. Tell me a little bit about the business. What do you do, and who founded the business?
Thank you. We're a school and charter bus transportation company. We're in our 100th year of business. It was started by my grandfather, Frank Villani Sr., 100 years ago in 1919, actually, during a trolley car strike.
Wow.
He was walking home from work after a long, laborsome day working on the Merck chimney. And he was tired, and he just thought to himself, "Oh, what I wouldn't pay for a ride." and that led to a milk truck that was funded by a couple of friends of his,
Okay.
Who had money that he didn't. He used to call out to the group of people and say a couple of different options for destinations, and whoever had the biggest show of hands, that's where they would go.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And so now the milk company, you said they had a milk company too, so delivering milk?
No, it was a milk truck that they purchased, and
I see. Okay.
Acquired some park benches.
Okay. Amazing. And so then your dad took over, or mom took
Yes.
over, or
Yeah. My father was president since 1950,
okay.
and I was working with the company since about 6 months after 9/11 in a full-time capacity, and then president in 2014.
So now, when you started, did you start out sweeping buses or doing menial labor when you were a little girl?
Yeah, when I was 3 years old, I thought I was a mechanic. So I used to love helping the guys roll the tires. I didn't realize that they were the ones rolling the tires behind me. I just thought that I was moving it all on my own. So.
I did on my blog on FamilyBusinessWorld.com. I have a blog that I talk about the secret of succession. And everybody that I talk to who is a proud next generation owner, they started out sweeping buses or doing menial labor. And the interesting thing is, that teaches them work ethic and other things, but it really helps people value the business that much more. The fact that you had to work hard at a labor job makes you really look at your family business in a way that others who had a silver spoon, who start out as president, don't. And so and I've just been impressed with you and kind of the way you run the business.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that too. We always found value in each aspect of the business, and I often say to our cleaners how maybe they don't realize what an integral part of our business that they are. Mm-hmm. If a bus shows up dirty, who wants to get on it? Mm-hmm. It makes such a difference, such a difference.
Well, but also the family businesses. I mean, one of my most enjoyable thing about the show is really seeing how well family businesses treat employees. You can't afford to have high turnover, and I think family business employees are treated better than any other employees in any other industry, and I've just been impressed by that. So now, how many employees do you have, or prior to the COVID crisis?
Yeah, pre-COVID, we were around 237.
Wow, amazing, 237. And so, when you started at 9/11, how many employees did you have back then?
So this is a funny thing. You don't always keep track at the moments, mm-hmm. or in the moments. Mm-hmm. And then later, somebody asks you to fill out some questions or so, and you're like, I don't know. Who knows what we contribute when and how, right? Mm-hmm. And then when you try to materialize that information and you actually go back to quantify it, mm-hmm. It takes a minute to digest all that happens in the time. Right. So I'll say my grandfather started with one bus. My father more than doubled the business mm-hmm. while he had it. Mm-hmm. And he had a larger complement of coaches and a smaller complement of school buses.
Right, okay.
And through the years, that changed and the school bus fleet grew and the motor coach fleet stayed static in a smaller respect. And when I started, from the time that I was leading the company, we more than doubled our numbers on the coach bus side, the school bus side, the drivers, the routes, in every capacity as well.
So now was your mom and dad both involved in the business, or?
Yes.
Yeah. What did they do? I want to hear, and I know they've since passed on, so I want to tribute them. Tell me about them.
Thank you. My mother grew up in her own school bus company, actually. So,
Wow.
What's a school bus girl to do but, meet a school bus boy, I guess, right? So,
that's rare.
As they, as things continued, when I was growing up, my mother was a key part of the business with Villani Bus Company. When I was born, she dissolved her company and focused on me for a while, and then joined the team. And she was a really key part of the Villani Bus success in her time with it.
Now, do you know why didn't they merge the companies, or did they do that and merge some buses, or?
I have so many questions I wish that I could ask them.
Yeah. And so now growing up in that kind of household as a young person, did you think about doing anything else? Did you try other things, or what happened when your dad was running the business?
Yeah, both my mother and father urged me to do anything but busing. And I studied a lot of different things, trying to find the right fit. International relations, tried to study Russian, speech language pathology I had a real passion for, and education. But I always knew deep down that I was coming back to the bus company.
It's it's interesting. I love seeing the commonalities where a lot of young people feel the same way. I just want to do anything but this. I want to try this, and then they start to realize how important the family business is and how many opportunities there are in the family business. Now, did you go to university? Did you go to college, and what did you major in?
I went to Hofstra University on Long Island, and I wound up ending with a major in, I studied sociology and anthropology, I think is where I landed. Right. It was a long and windy path to get there, though. I tried a lot of different hats on before there.
Well,
and I knew the only thing that I didn't want to do was business.
Interesting. Well, but sociology and anthropology is probably the perfect major for what you're doing, because it's all about people, right? It's all about how people interact, and so that's probably the best training you could have, better than business in a lot of ways.
I was really appreciative for everything that I got to study and all the time that I had and the opportunities. And my father was part of the great generation, and he was the business. He ate, sleep, drank the business. Right. He didn't vacation. He wasn't somebody going out and, he didn't golf and do all sorts of crazy things. He loved to work. He wanted to be at the bus company every day. And he just loved his buses and his bus life. And I knew that I was really grateful for every opportunity that I was provided. And I felt like I owed that to my family's business and my family. And I had to see it succeed and continue in respect for him.
Wonderful. Well, that's wonderful. And I hear so many of the first, second generation that the business is their life. And what I'm seeing is that many of those business leaders were very private. The family business, they really didn't want to share information. They just kind of went about their business. Was your dad the same way? Was he pretty private? And
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he was. I think he was a character. So a lot of people maybe thought that they knew him, but few actually did.
Right.
And I came into the business kind of dutifully, feeling it was the right thing to do, and be there with my father and help him out, and my mother and help them out. And then I did not have the anticipation or expectation that I was going to like it, because I didn't really have a desire for business at the time. I was working in a lot of different arenas, but not business. And when I came in, I happened to love it. And I'm so grateful for that. But it's because of the people. We're so lucky. Business, like you said, is nothing but people. I'm appreciative for every different aspect of our business, the opportunities it provides. And when people say, okay, well, how many people do you have, or how many people do you employ? I'm responsible for 237 families. And I appreciate each one of them so very much. And I hope that they know how much I truly appreciate them.
Well, Courtney, and that's a great answer. I know when I was doing my dissertation, I created this thing called the Living Wage Index, which is the percentage of households that can't pay their bills. And too often in society, we're focused on the individual, not on the household, not on the family. And so it's not just when you hire somebody, you're really hiring their whole household, their whole family. And so often we talk about minimum wage, and I think that's wrong because it's really what the household wage is. That it doesn't matter what an individual makes, but two individuals together can do that, and one individual alone can't do that. And so I love that answer because you're really thinking about that. So I ask about this in the private. We're going through an unprecedented crisis for small business, as you know, and we got to know each other because you come to our Family Business Friday calls that we started about 6 weeks ago, really to kind of help people get through or get as much money as they can and support this crisis. Talk to me about what this crisis has done for you and for to you and to your company.
Yes, thank you. This is the first time in our 100-year history that we are non-operational. So that's
100 years.
It's devastating. It's difficult. It's on everybody. It's difficult, but we're not the only ones.
Right. Everybody's
going through this together, and I don't know that that makes anybody feel any better, but at least there is an underlying comfort or knowledge that maybe if we can stick through it together, maybe we'll get through the other side a little stronger, a little bit more resilient. That's our prayer every day,
right?
To keep everyone healthy and come out a little stronger. It's I think that a lot of people, if they drive by and they see a parking lot full of buses that aren't moving, they think, oh, well, the buses aren't moving, so there's no work to do. So there's, she must be outside enjoying herself and having a nice time and, relaxing and catching up on reading and whatnot. And that has not been the case whatsoever. Like so many other business owners, working dutifully and diligently to make sure that we can see how every day changes the picture, but how do we get through this and stay viable?
Right.
Our business is majority school bus, and school bus transportation is a viable part of the school bus community.
Right.
And really, without school buses are responsible for 38% of pupil transportation getting to and from school.
Right.
So the economy doesn't really open without the schools and school busing.
It's an essential. Courtney, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back, and I want to pick up exactly where. So we'll see you in a minute or so.
And professionally. Visit drjacqueline.com to book an appointment today.
The session that we had with BCAT was really entertaining and enlightening. We were able to put together some very specific steps that we as individuals can take, and it was really fun to all come together and see sort of where we're going as a team and how we can all get there together.
We had a tremendous experience with the BCAT Partners. One of the challenges that we have as an organization is to make sure that we have the right people in the right chairs doing the right thing. To do that well, you have to have synergy. You can try to dream up ways to make sure that your group does that, or you can rely on experts. We would recommend BCAT Partners to anybody who's looking to take their organization to the next level.
I want to be a contender. I want a warm belly to sleep on.
A big house.
How do I look? Do I look good?
I want to play hard.
My nails done once a month.
I want
I
a home.
I just want a home. I want someone to love.
Last year, more than 30,000 companion animals came to us without homes. 20,000 of them were felines. Let's make some homes together.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark Iorio. I'm the host of Rainmakers Roundup right here on RVN TV.
Okay. Welcome back to Family Business World. We're here with Courtney Villani of the Villani Bus Company, and what an amazing company and an amazing CEO. We were just talking about your bus routes. You know, you're doing a lot of bus routes throughout the state of New Jersey. Now that it's been stopped, one of the mistakes that a lot of people in power think is that, okay, well, you don't have the buses running, so you have no expenses, but there are all sorts of fixed costs that you're dealing with every day. Talk to me about that.
It's a big challenge communicating this appropriately to people because, you know, they see big shiny buses and a lot of them, and they see when they're not moving, they just expect that, you know, the expenses aren't there. But it's just similar to, maybe just on a different scale, but it's similar to running a household. If say you're on vacation, you still have to pay your mortgage. Right. If you're not going to use your car, you still have to make your car payment, your insurance, your utilities. Whether you use them or not, they're still part of your expenses and your fixed expenses at that. They don't go away, and it doesn't matter how much or how little you're making at the time. They're not going to change.
What advice do you have? And again, so we have, as many of the viewers know, that there's been some federal stimulus money for supposedly to help small businesses through this. You know, some people have applied, they've gotten money, others haven't. What's been your experience?
I'm so grateful that the federal government acted quickly and got some things in place for us. I did apply for both the EIDL and the PPP loans.
Okay.
It's a wonderful opportunity. To be honest, I am terrified of it because the PPP loan forgiveness measures don't really come out until after you spend the money. Right. So it's a mixed bag, if you will. It's a lot of emotions. I think everything that we do and every decision that we make as business owners right now, it's a gamble. We don't know how it's going to pan out, and there's no way to measure until after the fact. So I think that you should apply for maximum and spend cautiously.
Yeah, and document. One of the things we continue to hear that to really document. And so for those that don't know, the PPP, the Payment Protection Program, the EIDL is Emergency Assistance Loan. Both are here. And so, as I mentioned, Courtney comes to, we have a Family Business Friday call with some experts from the SBA to the Economic Development Authority and some accountants and lawyers to really, it's a very complex process. And business people are really focused on running their business, but this is a whole nother realm. But the one thing that keeps coming up is that you need a strong relationship with your banker. Right, and it sounds like you had a good relationship with your bank.
So grateful. We went through Unity Bank. We work with a number of different banks, and we have great working relationships with each of them. But I believe your relationships are everything. Yeah. And I chose to go with our local small bank, Unity. They're local to New Jersey, and we're very proud that we have a great working relationship with them to begin with. But they worked every step of the way. I mean, the first day of the processing, that after everything came out and it was time for me to do the bank's individual application online, our local branch manager stayed on the phone with me darn near the whole day to help get everything through. Wow. So that's a lot of time invested, and I am grateful and appreciative. And you remember these things in these moments.
Exactly, and you also remember when people don't treat you well, and so I'm hearing a lot of stories that with their financial institution, basically forgot about them, and they're moving, and then a lot of them the institution went above and beyond to really help people through this crisis. And so now your husband works with you as part of the family business, and so how long has he been working with you with the business?
Maybe 10 years or so.
Oh, wonderful.
He started out as a baker, and now he's a bus guy.
Now, what about the next generation? Now, you have a young next generation, but...
That's right. My 2-year-old usually comes with us to work every day, and he loves washing buses. It's like his favorite thing to do.
Wow.
In fact, during this time while we've been isolated, he's been outside with a brush scrubbing trees because he doesn't have a bus to wash.
So it runs in the blood somehow. And So now we were talking earlier about a protest in D.C. The buses are coming from around the world and international. Tell me about that. What's going on?
So the motor coach industry right now is at a complete standstill, like most of the world. But while school buses move more than 5 million students a day, more students than ride the airlines every day, the motor coach industry provides transportation for the same amount of passengers as our airlines and our trains do.
Interesting.
Now, the airline industry and the trains, they got a lot of federal stimulus, and that's wonderful. Everybody needs it. But the motor coach industry to date has gotten none, $0.
Wow.
And these coach buses, like the one you see behind me, are nearly $600,000.
Wow.
So with those kind of expenses to care for, a 30-day deferral on payments is we're very grateful for it. But that's not really going to save the day, so to speak, because it's going to take a long time before our world is comfortable in the same way that they were before.
Right.
And so I think it's maybe more than a year for a rebound of the coach bus business. And that's a long time for a lot of people who earn their living and take care of their households this way. So there's groups like the United Motor Coach Association and the American Bus Association working together to do a rally in DC. Normally, we bring the people to the rally in DC.
Right.
And they're momentous occasions and they're historical moments. This is the first time in our motor coach history that as a country, we're coming together and there's representation from each state. And additionally, each of the members who register are having one bus in that lineup as well. We send a total of 6 buses.
Wow.
So there's like 3 different routes that they're going to be doing a silent protest driving around on pre-approved routes to show how many buses and how strong we are as an industry. I mean, it's millions. It's millions of jobs deep.
Right.
So it's I don't think people. I always say that transportation is one of those things that if your transportation goes smooth, most of the time people don't even notice that it even happened.
Right.
And that's not a knock to it. That's a compliment.
Absolutely.
So, we're usually there to be part of somebody else's big day, whether it's an outing, their wedding, a corporate event, a church group, a school trip. I mean, kids get to go see different things and their world is their circle of experiences is a little bit greater because of this transportation.
Absolutely.
So this rally to show that motor coaches really are a big part of our bus and our world and our bus life in our world. It's called a Motor Coach Rally for America.
Wonderful.
But it's not just a unique event in America. It's also happening worldwide today, in Europe as well. And
interesting.
It's a historical moment, to say the least.
Yeah, so similar challenges in Europe, too, that industry has been shuttered as well. And so, one of the things that, and on my Friday calls, I show what my favorite graphics are. One, you show the unemployment, back in the 2008, 2009, 2010, there are 700,000 jobs that were lost. We're upwards of 30 million now. And it really is because this is a small business crisis. And the unfortunate, a lot of my best friends are lobbyists, so I have nothing against lobbyists, but the reality is that big businesses, because they have profit margins, and unions, because they have profit margins, can afford lobbyists who are advocating in Washington, D.C. And so I think D.C. and Trenton and the powers that be were just surprised at how important small business is to employment. And America is really a small business country. And that's what made it entrepreneurship, and that's what's made it. And so to see, and the airline industry has wonderful lobbyists, and very rich people fly airlines. Buses are actually, for those that don't have a lot of means, that's their way to get around this country. And it's often forgotten. And so I love what you're doing. Is there kind of a lobbying effort? Does the motor? I'm sure they have some lobbyists, but probably not as influential as others.
Yes, there's lobbyists. There's efforts. There's campaigns in the works, and this is kind of like the visual representation of everybody's efforts together, and it's going to be very impactful. It already has been. But motor coach transportation, bus transportation, is accessible. You don't have to prove who you are to get on a bus.
Right. And so we're almost out of time, but I want to put in perspective the big versus small bus companies in New Jersey. Certainly school bus companies. I mean, are there many more small companies? We know some of the big names of the big companies, but are there a lot of small companies?
Oh yes. Yeah, the maybe there's a half dozen or less of the big guys, and then there's over 100 of the little guys.
Interesting.
So wide ranging.
Well, one of the things that I penned a letter, and we'll see if I penned an article and see if it's published, is to really do what I call a public spending program, and to require every public agency, I'm Vice President of the New Brunswick Board of Education, to report how much money they're spending on New Jersey certified veteran businesses, women-owned businesses, and minority businesses. Because I give the example of 3 school districts, Camden, Jersey City, and Newark. That's $2 billion total. If just 5%, that'd be $150 million they could spend. So Courtney, I want to thank you very much. 100-year-old bus company, your family legacy. I know they're looking down. They're very proud about you and your kids. So thank you for coming to Family Business World, and good luck. We're here to help any way we can. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming to another episode of Family Business World. We will see you next week. Take care.